Hey there, Chick Chatters. We are back with episode 2 of Love is Blind. It is called Can I Talk to You for Real? And we start off with Milton and Lydia, and they're on this like cute little beach date. And he couldn't find his cooler at first. And it was so infuriating to me to watch him look for it. I was like, bro. So I'm glad he found it.
He maybe couldn't find it because they were both calling it different things. Did you peep that?
He was calling it an ice chest, and she was calling it a cooler. And I was like, I thought she was foreign.
Right, I know. That's exactly what I was thinking.
His drinks are sitting on it, so he realizes.
Walked in and put items on it as if it was a table.
So yeah, Milton is very smart, but I guess sometimes he has his moments. So
he's 24, you know.
He's 24. Lydia is still reeling from the Izzy breakup, and she starts to tell Milton about it. And then Milton offers to be vulnerable, and instead she asks for her to be able to talk for a second and be real. And I guess Milton hasn't opened up to her, so I thought that was really funny when he finally was like, I'll be more vulnerable, actually. How about I be vulnerable today? And she's like, Can I talk to you for real?
I think he noticed that she was feeling sad, and he asked her why she was sad, and she didn't want to share with him because he wasn't sharing anything with her. I think that was her issue. And so he, I think, was saying that in support. She is a good character, you know, in these first couple of, I mean, she's great to watch all around.
Does talk to him a little bit. She tells him how she wants to be loved for who she is, and she cries about it. Seems like she's gone through a lot relationship wise, and he tells her that she's his number one. And then she says, talk to me, Milton. And he kind of starts telling her some things, but when she said that, it reminded me of like Lizzie McGuire, like, talk to me, Paolo.
Oh, yeah.
But he starts telling her more of his story, and he says that he shouldn't have disclosed his age, and she agrees with him. She says that she could not separate the age from who he is, but that she promised to start doing that, and that she wasn't going to judge him based on his age from now on.
Yeah, and she sounded pretty definitive about, like, I believed that when she said it.
She did it. She's the only person, I think, so far that said that and done that, because with everybody else who talked to somebody younger, like Jessica in season 1 with Mark, it just seemed that they could never get over the age gap. They couldn't really let the relationship even try to work because they couldn't get over the age gap.
He said something, I think it was this date, about how just being in the pods has helped him a lot emotionally and like to be able to know himself better. And to me, like, again, this is a huge indicator that you should go to therapy. Like, not in a bad way, Milton. There's nothing like wrong with you, but that's pretty much what therapy is. It's like a one-on-one deep conversation about yourself, like very focused in. I think Milton needs some good therapy, honestly, before he gets married.
So she's all about it. Now she's changed and shift gears. She's getting over Izzy, and she's going back for Milton. She's going to disregard his age, and we're going to see how it goes with that. They go over to JP and Taylor, and they're talking again, and Taylor asks about JP's childhood, and he starts kind of getting emotional, and he hesitates, but he does tell her that his mom was an angry person, and I guess towards his sisters especially, she would trash their rooms and yell at them, and he must have been on the younger side, so he just kind of came in and comforted them and wasn't really aware of what was truly going on.
Taylor said it, I think, like, spot on. Like, you know, he just sounds like a good brother. Like, I don't think that there's obviously much that he probably could have really done being like younger, and just that being his mom. I mean, you can't, your children are not in control of, though. He just sounds like a good brother. It sounds like he tried to do whatever he could to support them. I have a theory about this next part that comes up with JP and Taylor, but I feel like this was an accident, because he asks her, and I wrote this all out. He says, quote, "What would you most regret not having told someone?" Someone, not me, not what, someone. And her response was, that I love you, that would be a regret.
Yeah.
And then he says, I love you too. That is an accident. And then she was screamed. She screamed. And then like they basically left after that. Like
Yeah.
they're like,
That was
okay, so I
it.
guess we're in love. Love you. Bye. I think if she wanted, she would have said, I didn't mean that. I don't think
Yeah.
that she has no backbone or anything. I think she did feel that, but I don't think they meant
I don't
to.
think it meant for it to happen like that. I don't know, but they cut to the girls' time, and the girls are talking about Uche, and Lydia just keeps saying more things like he's smart, he has his own business, he knows better. It's so strange to me. And do you know him?
Mhm.
You know, she just keeps saying all this stuff, and Aaliyah's just sitting there agreeing with it. And I feel like I get that maybe because she's in the moment, she's not thinking about it that way. But I feel like I would even be asking, like, how do you know he's a business owner? How do you
Yeah.
know this? Unless
Yeah.
you're, I guess they do all date in the pods, but like, how does she know him almost to a level of
Right.
he's not like this? You
I've
know?
heard other seasons, like on like interviews and stuff, talk about how sometimes they have like pod best friends that are of the opposite sex. Like they'll go on pod dates with people that they agree that they're just talking or like gossiping probably about the other people on the other side. That's what I would be doing. So I mean, maybe they're like maybe Aaliyah's assuming that Lydia is having a friendship with Uche because she has a friendship with Aaliyah, but I don't know.
But so that kind of sets Aaliyah up to go confront Uche on how he made her feel. And, she's telling him the things that he said. And he was like, did I say those things? And she's like, yeah, you did. He's like, oh, well, if I said that, that's not what I meant. And it's like,
Right.
well, I mean, you can't be
That is
saying
like
things you don't mean.
this close to gaslighting, sir. Like you are this close. And like why you make someone to be like, yeah, you did say that. Like if she said it
You're
the first time
through,
you said that, don't deny it.
well, you're through a wall. All they have is your words.
He ends up taking a softer approach and he does apologize, but
Mhm. He says it's more his issue than hers, and he's looking for something wrong in their relationship. And she does end up forgiving him, and he promises to accept anything about her moving forward. And if they're still boyfriend and girlfriend, so they've already established that they're boyfriend and girlfriend prior to this.
yeah, right
That we
away
didn't
I think they did probably on like the second day. It seemed like they were both each other's number one, and at least through the editing, like there's no competition.
And then they show us this DJ disco thing that they show us every damn season. I swear, since at least season 2,
Yeah.
I've seen this disco dance thing for
Yeah.
like a second. And I'm like, what is this? Why are y'all always doing this silent disco?
Netflix has the show The Circle, and they always have like a disco night on that show too. Of course, they give us Izzy and Stacy for like the disco because they're the
Yeah,
fun ones. So
they
I don't
play
know.
games a lot.
They do.
So,
It seems like they have somehow like a lot of physical chemistry without touching each other. Like I just get the vibe that they're just like ready to find a room and
but Izzy does get serious with her for a second as Leanne Rhymes is in her jean outfit. And that she's just not very vulnerable with him, and that he wants her to get more vulnerable. And Stacy says that she's looking more forward to having fun with somebody, and she'll get to that vulnerable state like when she gets there. I can almost actually see what she's saying. I understand they're signing up for a show that like does all this so quick, but I feel like it would be really hard to do all this in 9 days. I know they spend a lot of hours talking to each other, but I feel like it'd be hard to open yourself up completely in like 9 days.
I mean, I guess it just depends like how serious you want to take your engagement.
Mhm.
If the engagement to you is just an extended time to decide if you really like each other, but it seems like some people want to take their engagement like if we get engaged, we're getting married, no question, even though that's not a rule by any means. You're right. It seems like Izzy and Stacy, it's just not important to them right now, or at least for Stacy to know like a whole lot about his deeper self. But I don't know. I kind of thought she did try to reassure him, but she didn't offer any vulnerability. She more offered like that she's determined and stubborn about him.
And also, just because she wants to have more fun doesn't mean that she's not the right choice for him either. I mean, we've seen this happen with Cole and Colleen, Shane and Shayna.
Yeah,
Like, they had more fun with these people, and they seem to have had like a more superficial connection with them. And they thought that that wasn't a good reason to pick them. They went for their more deeper connections, and neither of those connections ended up working out in their favor. And I honestly think they would have turned out better with the opposite match.
I agree.
So maybe this is one of those times where it would work for them overall, because we've seen this not work where couples try to go for their deeper connection. So
right.
I guess,
yeah, my personal opinion, I think Izzy and Stacy are actually a really good match for each other, like kind of throughout at least all the episodes that we've seen so far. So yeah, I did think it was funny though. I mean, he's like, "Can you be vulnerable with me?" And she was like, "No, but I'm really committed to being your number one. I'm just gonna be stubborn."
and then it kind of cuts to a date with Chris and Johnny, and they have a little spa date. And they just keep laughing the entire time. They're having a lot of fun, and he tells her about like his family game nights and how he can imagine her being there, and she's just kind of in her little element. She seems to be like really friendly terms with Chris. It seems like all like friendly and just fun, and this is kind of the same way Izzy is with Stacy. It seems to be all surface level and fun, and they talk about things, but they don't get super deep, other than Chris kind of opening up to Johnny. She hasn't seemed to open up to Chris in the same way that she opens up to Izzy.
I agree. I think she's kind of giving a lot more of her effort to Izzy. So as far as being vulnerable, and she has a not a dark past, but it's emotional for her. So she probably doesn't want to tell everybody that, even like her number two. So yeah, they don't seem to talk as much about deep things, but they talk about like values and where they see their future and that kind of thing. So
it's like a theme for Johnny to say that she can picture herself with Chris, but that she's got more of a fire for Izzy. So she's like, feels like a fifth grader with Izzy. And then they cut to a date with her and Izzy where we learn that he is Jehovah's Witness, and he talks to her about his childhood and how he couldn't go to class parties that were holiday themed. He'd have to sit in a different room and watch DVDs, and he wasn't able to like go to any holiday events or anything like that. He also talks about a time when he went to somebody's Easter egg hunt when a friend just kind of approached him and offered him to go, and he just went, and his dad saw him, and it was just a horrible time after that. His dad took him away. So yeah, he left that faith, he left that religion, and now he has celebrated holidays. And he said when he got a Christmas tree, he left it up till April. So
you know what? Good for him, but part of me just thinks like that's just like a lazy man thing to do. I don't think you did that out of like joyous celebration for Christmas. I think you're just like a single guy.
It could be, but
I don't know. I just like I couldn't buy it when I heard that. I was like, no, you just left it up like we all do.
It depends how his place looks when we see it, right?
Yes, you're right. We'll have to like note that one mentally.
But yeah, so Chris Daughtry then opens up about the guy he thought was his dad wasn't, and how he figured that out. He was staying with a friend or a family member, and he figured it out from a cousin or something like that. And also, Izzy wants to join someone else's family because he wants to take on their family traditions because he really doesn't have any. And that kind of made me feel sad for him. Johnny kind of really attached to him after that. She kind of lit up. She offered up her family Christmas.
And just like, I don't know, minutes later in her other date, she was offering up herself to be a part of Chris's family during family game night. So she's definitely still testing the waters. She's got a lot to figure out.
But she does tell Izzy that her other connection with Chris is just friendly, and that she wants Izzy wants her to tell him that she wants him. See, Izzy has this thing, I feel like, for having people tell him that they're into him and that he's their number one and stuff. Like, he has like this thing for it, because once they do, he seems to kind of disinterest himself a little bit. Because he
Totally.
hasn't gotten that completely from Stacy, and he seems very interested in Stacy still, but it seems to be a common thing with him and Johnny where he's constantly asking her to say things like that. Like he'll be like, just say it, then
Yeah.
say it.
Yeah.
Or things
He's
like,
like Shane. Remember when Shane was like begging Natalie
yeah,
to like just say nice things to him basically?
yeah, you're right. There's actually a lot of similarities there. So yeah, she does tell him that he is her number one, and I think she kind of took that as an initiative to break off her other relationships.
Yeah.
And I don't think they had that actual conversation, but that's what she got out of it, is that now she's going to break off her other relationships, and maybe she thought Izzy would start doing the same. But Izzy actually doesn't ever tell her that she's his number one or any of these girls, so
I know.
we'll see. They cut to JP, and JP is getting ready to propose to Taylor. Yes. And he tears up as he proposes to her, and she does say yes. And that's pretty much all I had to say about them.
It was pretty quick. I mean, it was like sweet, but I don't. It's still giving like third date vibes to me. Like they just don't know each other. They're not like naive and acting like
Right.
they know everything about each other. They're kind of open about that. They still have quite a ways to go and figuring each other out. But yeah, it's still very much giving third date.
And I don't know if it's just because of them proposing so early on in the series, but I do know that they actually do stay in the pod the same amount of time as everybody else.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of what it looks like to us. So
Mm-hmm.
maybe that's just that. Then they cut over to Milton, who got a gift from Lydia, and it's a rock, and he's super excited about it. And that's when I realized that guy was so small
Yeah.
when he was standing next to Milton then. From Milton to Chris, and Chris is certain about Johnny, and he goes to meet up with her. And it's just so sad to see how excited he was to go meet up with her. He was so certain about her. He brought his little notebook. He's ready to take more notes.
You know.
And he sits down, and Johnny just immediately starts breaking it off with him for Izzy.
Yeah. And I just feel like even as she's doing this, but we get like more confirmation of that later, but I just feel like she's making the wrong choice when she's breaking it off with him. Like, I don't know, and he takes it so well, probably the best out of like really a lot of people we've seen in all these seasons. He's really kind and like obviously he's sad, but he keeps a lot of that to himself and I think that that's appropriate. But he wishes her the best and I don't know. I just don't. She's like getting her shoes on almost
Yeah,
immediately. Could not get out of that room fast enough.
she was gathering her stuff as she was basically breaking up with him. She's out the door as he's like, "You can leave now." And she's like, "Okay," as she's literally
She's
walking out
already
the door.
leaving. Yeah, she could not get to her next date with Izzy like fast enough. She starts to get really chaotic after this point. Like
Yeah.
things just start to spiral for her. Um, but yeah, she does have a date with Izzy like pretty much right away. There is like some in between where Chris obviously goes back and in the living quarters and he's talking with some of the guys and Izzy overhears obviously what's going on.
Oh, she does say to Izzy that she cut things off with Chris, and he immediately is like, "Yeah, I heard, but I wasn't there to see it."
Yeah, and so that like she asks him at that point like, "Oh, was he upset?" And he says that yeah, like he was upset. And then they have a pretty vulnerable, not vulnerable, but just honest conversation about Chris. And Izzy says a lot of nice things about Chris and I think this is where yeah, the spiral just kind of starts for Johnny. I think she's starting to realize maybe she made the wrong choice.
She does this thing that like Roxanne was kind of doing to MGK and Ultimatum. She starts kind of cutting down Chris. She says
Yeah.
he's a safe option, and that Izzy is the one for her because she feels that Chris is just too safe. She can see where her life is with him, but she doesn't want that. She doesn't want predictable, and she tells Izzy that she's done safe before
Right.
and that it didn't work out for her and that she wants something different. Then her and Izzy connect on them both hating rejection. And he does call her baby. I noticed that. So she brings up her longest relationship, which was with an addict, and that when she was married, she found out that the man that she was dating for a very long time had passed away from a drug overdose. She said that was the only person she ever loved, and I guess that was a big part of her marriage breaking down. And as she's telling the story, you can see Izzy visibly just becoming
Deflate.
more and more overwhelmed by it. He's
Yeah.
just holding his head. He's just not sure what to do, not sure what to say. He gets very quiet. He shuts down.
Yeah, I feel bad for him at this point. But I also like she's been divorced. There's very few divorce stories that are like easy and without like some relational trauma. I think it's concerning that she married a whole man that she supposedly didn't love. But
Mm-hmm.
maybe she thought she loved him when she married him and then realized after the ex-boyfriend died that she's actually not in love. I don't know. I'm not her. I don't know why someone would marry someone that they don't love, but I mean, I'm sure it happens. But yeah, that was concerning, I think, to all of us. And she says as much, like, I'm 8,000 walking red flags, or like
Yeah.
whatever. I feel like she could have just presented that in a different way. Like, she could have explained more, I guess, why she was married to somebody she didn't love. To me,
Yeah.
it seems so focused on the person who passed away, which is sad. And I'm sure there's a lot of grief there, but as far as trying to discuss this with Izzy, like it doesn't give him a lot of an idea of where she's at. And I think that's why he asks her, like, do you think you're capable of letting someone else take on that space? Which I thought was a weird question, but I get why he was trying to ask her that. Like obviously she's capable of love again, but yeah, I don't know. It shows more that Johnny is saying that she's in a really good place, and it's been 7 years. I'm sure she's done a lot of good work, but her relationship patterns are weird.
Yeah, Izzy does seem concerned that she had already found this like crazy passionate love once and she might not be able to love like that
Yeah,
again
yeah,
in the way that he might hope. That, people say that they have a soulmate. Maybe he thinks that maybe she's just not his soulmate because she's already found hers. The whole conversation seems to just kind of go the wrong way. We have Johnny saying that this conversation isn't going to be anything productive. And he starts kind of just like wiping his face and just getting frustrated. And he just calls it a night. And she's like, really? And he said, yeah, I need space. And I think that was a good move. If you don't know what to say and you need a moment to process, then I guess you just
yeah.
need
Don't sit
time.
there and say things you don't mean or try to like make it worse. So it doesn't seem like he's gonna push her away right away, but he does not like that information, and that's fair.
Mm-hmm.
This is not just like I cheated on somebody one time like Aaliyah did, even though that was horrible. Johnny has like relationship patterns that
Mm-hmm.
are not good and serious. Like these are marriages and years.
She can get deep, but just like Zeneb, maybe it's a little too deep for what Izzy is capable of. Because
Right,
Izzy doesn't seem like yeah, he might want to get a little bit deep, kind of like Shane. He might be the kind of guy that wants to get a little bit deep, but I don't think he's looking for all this baggage. I think he's just looking for somebody on the same level as him with deepness. But yeah, I mean, he calls it a night. And she seems pretty confused by the whole thing. She seems like she's reeling. And I also think that part of him calling a night isn't just like the information she gave, but I also think he was a little bit taken aback by her making him the only person because now he has to decide whether or not he wants to make her the only person or Stacy. Because I think he wanted to date them both a little bit longer, and now he's going to be on the wire about it because she
right.
gave up her other connections. Now he's down to just Johnny and Stacy, and Johnny seeming to give up her connections, so maybe she's expecting him to do the same.
Have Taylor practicing her reveal because she's about to go meet JP.
Yeah.
And we do get like a little sneak peek of the reveal, but yeah, she's practicing in the women's quarters, and she like gets down, like someone gets on one knee practicing to be JP, and she like gets down on his level, and she's like, "Is this weird?" And everyone's like, "Yes, stand up." They get into that like reveal room, and they're both in their best outfit, and the shadows come on. And I do have to say, Taylor looks really great in her like shadow. She has a good silhouette. So
Mm-hmm.
Taylor tells us that she had a dream the night before that the man she was about to meet was blonde and tan and had good white teeth.
Oof.
And then the doors open.
Oof. Let's just say she didn't exactly get that, but
She did not conjure the man.
she did not conjure the man in her dream.
Yeah. All right, chick chatters. Well, thanks for sticking around. We will see you next time, episode 3.
Yeah, like and subscribe. Bye.
Bye.